Well, hello there, parapeeps, and welcome to another episode of Our Haunted Travels. Let's Talk Paranormal Live. I am your host, Sean Donnelly.
I'm your co-host, Marianne Donnelly. And I really am.
So, co-host, we gotta fix the candles. I keep forgetting to tell you.
I know, and I keep forgetting to go and change their battery.
Yeah, we gotta change the battery in the candles. So it's been a little...
It's alright.
It's been a minute.
It's okay.
Just imagine, use your imagination, the candles are lit.
We could actually light the real ones, but then I'd have to buy new candles and...
Yeah, we're not going there. Anyways, hope you guys are having a great Saturday. We've kind of you were busy this morning.
I've had a busy day, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Today was ACT day again.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a little bit of a nap, but I got some stuff done this morning and got a big week coming up.
Yes.
Got a big week coming up.
Aren't they all big?
Yeah. They are. They're big and exciting, but what do you guys have got going on this weekend? Hopefully something fun. Hopefully staying warm. I don't know, we got more snow last night. I think that's probably going to be it.
We're supposed to get more tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night would be okay.
Provided
it's enough to keep us home.
I still
we
have
had a
some
snow
issues.
day Friday.
We did, but I can't have a snow day on Monday because I have
that normally
ACT
happens
pickup day.
that normally happens in February.
I know.
Normally happens in February.
Yeah. Well, Budget Bushcraft says our candles smell green.
Well, that's good. As long as they smell green.
Oh, goodness gracious.
All right. So
Lori says she doesn't have not a darn thing going on.
Those are good days. When you don't have a darn thing you got to worry about.
Yeah, you can relax, sit around.
Yeah.
Veg out.
Today's show, Marianne's going to be doing a presentation for you. I'm just going to be clicking the buttons.
You're going to be my clickman?
I'm just going to
You're going to be my clickbait?
No, not the clickbait. Oh. We won't go there. Okay. I'm just going to run the presentation while you talk.
Oh, okay.
We're going to try to get through the house cleaning quickly so that you have a little bit more time to do this. We've talked about it.
Lots of pictures to show.
Yeah, we've talked about this several times through our videos and live streams. We referred to it that Marianne participated in an archaeological dig. How long was it?
It was 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
And you were published in the paper, which you didn't get that down, but there is the papers hanging on the wall.
Right next to Boris's.
Is that it?
Yep,
right
that's
there?
it right there.
So that's the paper that she was published in.
Well,
so.
I didn't write it. I mentioned that I was in it, yes.
But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So if you're finding this on the playback, down in the description, I'm going to put a link to the time when we start the actual topic so you don't have to listen to the house cleaning stuff.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
We're ready to get going?
Sounds good. Budget says that he had ice and then snow there. And Queen Helen Casey says she's got her earbuds plugged in. She's ready to go.
All right. Yeah, we did get the ice and snow. And
then it kind of went away, and then we got a little bit more snow. Yeah.
Well, winter finally showed up, but I think it's going to be...
It's going to be short. I think the little groundhog said we weren't supposed to have any more, and then a couple days later, bam.
I don't trust that rodent anyways.
You don't trust the rodent?
No.
All right.
All right, so I think everyone's chatting with us, but leave us a comment in the chat whether you believe in the paranormal or not while we get started here and get things rolling. Covered today's topic already. Like I said, we're going to shorten this up a little bit. I'm seeing 7 people in the house.
I'm seeing the same.
Do you want to go ahead and do a roll call?
All right, let me just pop on over to that. We have Budget Bushcraft and RV Life, Frosty Dog, Haunted by Haunted, Lori Bryant, and Queen Helen Casey, as well as anyone else who hasn't said anything in a while. And hello to everyone on the playback.
Yes. So if you're watching us on the playback, leave a comment down in the comments. Let us know whether you believe in the paranormal or not.
And we have Deb Schoen is here as well. She says she does. Lori says she won't say she doesn't believe, but she does usually look for explanations that are not related to paranormal.
Well, that's a good investigator. That is a good investigator to look for reasons behind a potential.
Yes. What could that have been besides
things
something
out.
paranormal? Yes.
All right. So, last week on the channel, we covered the Eisenhower National Historic Site.
Yes.
Tonight, well, we got some things to do right after the show, but at some point tonight, I'm going to finish up the blog post. That's what I was working on right before the show. We're actually recording tonight after the show, yes?
Yes, we are. We'll be recording a haunted history video for...
Well, this leads... Great segue. Next week. Next week, Tuesday, we're going to do a Behind the Haunting, and we're covering the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, because Valentine's Day is Friday. You see how that plays in there?
And I'm going to have
it's
a haunted history recipe to go with it.
Well, I was getting to that. She's going to have a related haunted history recipe, which you haven't done in 8 months.
I can't believe it's been that long.
8 months.
That's ridiculous.
So we have one that ties to the location. And then Friday, we're going to share with you a quick video.
Yes.
And we'll say in the video why it was quick.
Yes.
We actually went to the location of where it took place. And we have some video of that. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be next week.
All right.
If you follow us on Twitter, I put out a really kind of cool commercial. I only put it on Twitter. I didn't even try with Facebook and YouTube. But
yeah,
I thought it was kind of cool. Anybody see that on Twitter? If you did, let us know in chat. Let me know what you think about it, because that was kind of fun.
And Robin Holly has joined us. Let's see. You guys had a couple of answers to Sean's question about whether you believed or not. But Haunted by Haunted says they want to visit Arlington again so bad after watching our recent video. Thank you. And Queen Helen Casey says, I never saw a ghost in my life, and I don't intend to see one either. Let's see. Frosty Dog said that he does believe, but he thinks some things are a little exaggerated, and if you're talking TV shows, you're absolutely right. Lady Vamp has joined us. Nice to see you as well.
Yeah, she says, hi all. Sorry, I'm late. You're not late. We won't start the show till you get here. We're good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
And if we do, you can always pop in later and watch the replay.
All right, guys, we got 9 people in here. Well, drop down to 8. So if you haven't done it already, please go ahead and share this out. Let's see if we get some more. If we don't, I don't care. There's 8 of us. We'll have a good time. Doesn't matter.
It'll be just the 10 of us then.
Okay. 10?
8 of them and 2 of us.
Oh, just the 10 of us. I get it. I can't wait till it warms up so I can open that window, because I'm like already roasting.
Seriously?
Yeah, and I have shorts on. Whew, it's warm in here. Once I get in this corner with these monitors and stuff, it does get a little bit
And
warm.
yet you want one more. It's crazy.
Stop judging me, woman.
I judge you all day long, every day.
All right, so what else we got going in chat while I try to read my notes?
That is all that's going on in chat, so you better read up fast.
All right, why don't you talk about your museum item or your eBay? This is not an eBay purchase. This is something
not.
from your
This is
adventures.
something from the event that we're going to talk about today.
And while you're doing that, I'm going to flip to this, because I haven't used this one in a while.
And it's not attached. I didn't want to attach it, so it kind of moves around in the case. But this is actually a piece of wood from grave number 10 in the archaeological dig that I participated in. Dr. White allowed me to take a piece of the wood because actually, you'll see later, but grave 10 had just a ton of wood that was still present. So he let me have some.
Very cool.
Yeah. So this is I actually dug this out of the ground. Very cool.
Pretty neat.
Yes.
We don't have pictures of that yet, do we?
No.
In the museum.
No, but we'll have it in there for this week.
Put that back up on the wall.
That's right.
And I'll need that for the newsletter. Which, by the way, do you have our links?
I do.
All right. So normally on our shows we have a forensic update, we have a history update, we have all kinds of little updates. Not going to do them because we're trying to shorten this up. But make sure you are on our newsletter. It's going to be coming out probably late tomorrow night, if not early Monday morning. So if you are signed up, make sure you have panicdvideos@gmail.com and as your contacts, or check the promotion tab in Gmail and see if our newsletters are going into there. We have 60 some people on that list, and only like 7 or 8 people are opening it because I don't think people are seeing it.
That is sad.
We've sent out 3 consecutively the past 3 weeks. So check your email and see if you're getting that, because there's some cool stuff, like some of the forensics and stuff. I'm not bragging. It's just stuff we found that we put in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So, Frosty Dog, I will get to your question here as we go through the presentation. He says, what kind of crazy person buries wood? Well, you'll get to see and hear a little bit about why.
You'll find out about that here shortly. All right. So, I do want to talk about the social media tip that's going to be in the newsletter.
Okay.
There are 2 services. Yankee mentioned one on Twitter, which, hi, Yankee. I don't know if you're watching or not, or the playback or whatever.
I know, because he's like,
I do have the chat open on
just in case.
In the circle, just in case, if you want to comment something. But there was a service that he was having problems with on Twitter. We're going to mention that service in the newsletter. And then there was another one that I found that we almost signed up for, that I did some reviews that I'm going to put in there just to kind of tell you guys to stay away from, because the reviews were kind of ugly. And
Okay.
All right. So I want to show them one more thing, and then we'll get started.
All right. And while you're looking that up, Lady Vamp says they all need to get our Patreon also, because it's very good. So thank you for that little vote of confidence. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Actually, we'll talk about Patreon right before we switch things here. Because we switched things up with Patreon too.
Oh, okay.
So I do want to share with you something that I've been working on over the past, when did I start this? Maybe November? The archeological.com.
Oh, I'm not sure.
October, November?
Maybe.
Okay. If you guys haven't seen this yet, archeological.com is actually our new, well, it's a few months old. It's our new blog website.
Where you write a little synopsis of things that we do.
The cool part about it is the categories over here. So, like, if you want to find out stuff about cemeteries or Chicago or presidents' homes or ghost stories or whatever, it's actually grouping it together. And then once you go into it, like we did the following the Eisenhower, it links to our videos if you didn't see them, but also gives you a little bit more information and shares with you more of the pictures and stuff that may not have been in the videos, or a little bit more research that we also include about the location too.
Okay.
So I just wanted to mention that. archhauntedtravels.com. We finally got that domain. Why I never started that when we started the whole thing, I don't know. Well, I had a mess, and I'm cleaning it up. I mean, we're almost there, where we started under Panic D.
Yes.
So I'm trying to transfer. Our channel now is Our Haunted Travels Panic D. So I'm transferring to Our Haunted Travels. We still, though, use Panic D.
Right, because that's the backbone of everything.
That's one more thing I want to show you. If you're ever curious about the places that we've been to, right here it says locations visited. And this map's going to come up. Those are pins to the different places that we've been to, but then there's a report. These are all the different locations. And the ones that don't have any icons right here, we have not covered on the channel yet.
That's a lot of blanks over there, Mr. Donnelly.
This project's going to be going on for a little while. Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah. Took me a little while to get organized, get cleaned up, but archhauntedtravels.com seems to be working and helping.
All right. Very good. All right. So are we ready to roll?
Let me check over my notes. Check chat there.
I've checked chat. And they're just excited to see all the things that you've got on that list. They're wowing you.
Okay. I talked about next week. Talked about what we did last week.
Yeah. I think you hit it.
Travel tip. Okay. I do want to mention the travel tip. It's going to go in the newsletter, but Kay did get it to me ahead of time, so I want to mention it.
Oh, all right.
So the travel tip in the newsletter is sponsored by Happy Trails Hiking. Okay. And her travel tip this week is Go ahead. You want to read it? Right there.
Always have a first aid kit in your car, and it should include tweezers or forceps, alcohol swabs, a candle, and something to light it with, as well as Band-Aids.
Yeah, so each week in the newsletter...
She said bandages. She didn't want to go name brand, but I just kind of always call them that. So, but that's a good idea, and we always had one when we did our events. We always had the first aid kit ready to go, just in case someone got injured at one of our murder mystery dinners.
Yeah, I have one in
like
our
that.
car, like down by the spare tire area. There's a first aid kit in there. You never know.
That's right.
Yeah, and then I think I have one in my ghost hunting bag too, because especially,
you have a mini one in there.
Yeah, because some of the places we go with no lights on, and you could run into something.
Yes, and bandages end up getting used a bit. And actually, there's even a picture in the stuff I have for today where I had a bandage on while I was digging up the graves. And I'm holding it.
All right, so we're going to talk real quick here about Patreon, and then I'm going to play a quick little thing while we transfer over to get ready for Marianne's presentation, and we're going to get going.
All right.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right, so Patreon, we've changed things up a little bit. We're still going to be putting out raw evidence stuff as we come up to locations, but we've been doing behind the scenes videos, which are extra little things about the locations, and you can get those for just $1 a month. The one that's coming out Sunday is a little bit behind the scenes about the Eisenhowers. I won't give much about Ike. Little bit of controversy there.
Controversy? Say it isn't so.
We did
Not
one about
squeaky clean.
We did one about Arlington National Cemetery, a little bit, and then the one coming out next week is about the curse of the wall from the
St.
garage.
Valentine's murder.
Yeah, so they're a little bit extra. They're kind of a little bit looser, because we're just talking to you guys. So, hey, something to think about. $1 a month gets you access to those videos. Plus, as we travel, as it gets warmer, we're going to start traveling again, go to more places. We'll send you a postcard from the road, from where we're at.
That's right.
And
we have a couple of trips coming up.
Yeah, we have some trips already planned.
That's
in
right.
the works.
That's right.
So, something to think about. $1 a month gets you access to that. $5 a month, you get listed on our videos. Well, you get everything for $1 a month. You get listed on our videos. Plus, you be show supporters for this show.
That's right.
All right.
Yeah. And I just want to, while we're here, mention that Susie Channel is here. And I said, did I hear you had a birthday just recently? So happy birthday again to Susie Channel. Yes. And Marty's crew, our Family Adventures, has joined us as well. And Budget Bushcraft wants to know if maybe that bandage that I had was from splinters, so I don't know. We'll find out.
Could be. All right, so watch this real quick. It's like a minute long. Well, it gives me a minute to switch screens up here, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
So thank you very much for our show and Patreon supporters. Appreciate it. And I'll tell you why we appreciate it, okay? When we covered Arlington National Cemetery, we didn't get monetization on those until 2 or 3 days after they were already out and everybody watched most of them. Because I have to submit to have them reviewed to say, no, there's nothing against it, because I used the word cemetery.
Yes.
Imagine what happened when I used, the missing casket. So today is archaeological dig, but basically you moved a graveyard.
True.
So I kind of worded it a little bit different. As we go along, I'm just, as we're getting Patreon supporters, I don't really care anymore about the YouTube stuff. I'll just keep submitting the thing saying we're fine. But, next week's going to be St. Valentine's Day Massacre. So
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're not going to get
yeah.
monetized on those either.
Yeah. Well, we do, but it's like they're delayed 3 or 4 days after they already come out. It's like, okay, well, gee, thanks. We do get a lot of views on the back end, but Patreon supports, thank you very much. That kind of off-syncs that, but okay.
All right.
Anyways.
So now, is it my turn yet?
It's your turn. I'm done.
All right.
I think I shortened that by 8 minutes, maybe.
I think you did.
All right, so here we go.
All right.
So I need to write down the time, 25, 26.
25, 26. All right.
So 26.
26.
All right. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, so you just tell me when to click.
Go ahead.
So
All right.
Today's topic is digging up the, actually, it was supposed to be digging up the dirty past.
I took out dirty. Just because I got dirty doesn't mean...
That's why I put that. You were dirty, dirty, dirty.
Yeah, I did get very dirty a lot of times during those digs, and the washing machine did not even take it all out. But in any case, I did go, it's a little place in Ohio. It's called Damascus. And when I first started doing the digs, I was saying I was doing a dig in Damascus. And literally, everybody's like, how do you get back and forth so fast? And I'm like, it's Ohio. It's not the other country one. Yeah, so I would go and... go on the weekends, Fridays and Saturdays, to the Damascus Friends Church in Damascus, Ohio, and we would excavate the cemetery. So,
why were you doing that?
I'm so glad you asked that.
Well, before you answer that, Pauline Newman's here.
Hey, Pauline! So why were we doing that? As it turned out, the church was growing and they needed more space and more parking. And so they wanted to expand a bit. And you're not allowed to, put a parking lot over a cemetery.
Well, at least in Ohio.
Yeah, that's true.
We found other places where they just go ahead and do it.
That's true. But yeah, so we actually were contacted, Dr. White from Youngstown State University's archaeology department. He was contacted by them to try to move it if the best that they could. And of course, he asked them some questions, some pertinent questions first before he would agree to it. Mm-hmm. One of his number one questions always was, when was it from, and was anyone embalmed that was buried there? Because if there's an embalmed body there, he would not have taken the case.
Yeah, you would have found something a little bit different.
We would have found something different. And also he said that he just didn't like working with that with individuals who had been embalmed previously, because when you open up any materials from that, then it smells really, really bad. Whereas if it's just normal decay without, it's much cleaner. And the smell is just normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So anyways, that's why they were moving it. Yes. So we're going to switch over there. This guy in the red striped shirt there in the middle, that is Dr. White.
And unfortunately, he's no longer with us.
That is correct. That is correct.
So what was the year of this?
This was 2001 to 2003 when we finished that and the paper. So that is him right there in the middle, some of his crew behind him. I just like to point out the guy very close there on the left in that pinky shirt that's kind of cut off. That's actually Dave. And you'll find that I don't put Dave's face in most of the pictures, not because he's on any,
witness
protection program or anything. Yeah. But every time I would take a picture of him, my camera would malfunction and the discs would all erase.
Oh, well, that's another thing I want to mention, too. This Okay.
Yeah,
The reason why we kind of like put this off for a while is we're trying to figure out how to do this, because these pictures are only 640 by 480.
Right.
Because back then your camera
was a floppy disk
was a
digital.
Sony Mavica that took floppy disks.
Yeah, and that was the biggest file it had.
Yeah, so now we're at 1920 by 1080, and you blow those pictures up and they're all pixelated. So
Right.
it's like, okay, how are we going to do this? So is it, okay, we'll do a live stream.
Yeah. So
if they are pixelated, that's why.
Right. They are from 2001.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, so the rest of his crew's back there. I'll talk about a few more as we go through. But that is Dr. White in the middle there. And from time to time, including the first day I went to this dig site, he would dress up like this and kind of run around checking on us. And so we used to call him the Sheik, because he would, put on his little stuff there. And he actually would go to many countries to do archaeological digs, and he did them in Turkey and everywhere else. Actually, one of the 2 summers that I was working on this particular project, he was in Turkey for a month of it.
Wow.
And so he was doing a dig there, and the guy on the far right there, Masterus, and he of us, him and Ken. So, yeah.
Okay, so Susie says she's listening, but she won't be in chat, but she's listening. That's
well,
okay.
Thanks, Susie.
That's fine.
Yeah. All right, so the way that I got involved in this actually was Dr. White came to a science teacher group that I belong to at Youngstown State University called YAPA, the Youngstown Area Physics Alliance. And he said, hey, I'm doing this dig, it's local, and I can use some extra volunteers to help us out with some of the overburdened stuff. And so he said, if you want to come out and see what we do and help us out for a day or so, we would be much appreciated. And I did for 2 years. So
okay, so
are
let's
you,
pause
good?
just for a second, because I got a
Yeah.
word come up. Are you guys still seeing us and hearing us?
I am.
No, I got a red thing over here.
You're-
That went yellow.
You're red, but I'm seeing the stream. So, I just went to a spinny zone. Marty says that we look good though, so. Alright. I'm going to say you're in a green zone now.
Yep, we
Bouncing back and forth.
No, I'm still red here.
So should I
Starting to drop
keep
packets.
talking or not talking? Lori says, are they buffering for anyone else? So it looks like you're buffering for them now. Looks like. I'll just say hi in chat here for a second while you work on that.
There's nothing I could do.
For
It's the internet. Oh, now it went green. We should be coming back.
Lady Vamp says buffering, but back. Pauline says no more buffering, so looks like we are now good to go. All right.
Okay, buffering but back, no more buffering, a little buffering. Okay. Oh, this one.
Well,
One again.
we're just gonna try. You're bouncing back and forth. I don't know. You should have left it and not reset it, maybe.
Oh, it's back to green.
Okay. Marty says refresh. Looks good again.
All right.
So,
We'll keep an eye on it.
yeah, you keep an eye on that, and I'm just gonna
Yeah.
chitter chatter away.
All right, next slide.
All right. So, before I got there the first time, they had begun to use heavy machinery to take the first so many feet. Actually, it was about 3.5 feet that they removed depending on the slope of the land. It was not a flat surface, so they did have some difference in depth. But they did do that. When they first started on the very first day, they started with the heavy machinery, and they did find bone that very first day. They found a piece of a pelvis, and that's how they knew actually how deep they really were. It was a cemetery from 1804, basically 1809, and they said, we're not 100% sure how deep these bodies actually are.
We're dead. We're dropped. No pun intended. We're getting no data. Look.
Sadness. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but it seems like our internet issue might be back.
just out of curiosity, last 2 weeks you did you show stuff from over there. Okay. I was going to say,
It's not this. It's the
not this.
internet connection.
Okay.
Dang it.
I was going to have a lot of fun tonight. Well, streams. Oh, did you drop it down last week?
Nope. I haven't touched anything from the past 2 weeks. Nothing.
Happy Trails Hiking has joined us. Says she's getting ready to go. Glad she could check us a little bit. Frosty Dog says he's going to blame Dave for the buffering.
Yeah, blame Dave. Just keep talking, I can hear you. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, we're dropping in and out. I'm dropping packets like crazy. So just keep going, I guess, until it completely crashes. That says no data, but I don't know how jerky it's going to be.
Okay, well, if it doesn't work out, we'll just have to put the PowerPoint into Patreon later. And then they can come over there and take a look at it. They might not know everything, what it's doing, but... You know.
Well, we'll be on the blog post, too, so...
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, anyways, back to my story then. They brought in the heavy machinery. They dug down about 3.5 feet. They did come to a point where they did find a piece of bone, and so they knew they were at the right depth. They didn't know the exact depth because these were all hand-dug graves from the early 1800s. They didn't really go down as deep in the winter time as some of the other, warmer time periods. We do live in Ohio, so there is that freezing of the dirt time. And so they didn't quite know how far down to go. But they got that as a major overburden piece taken off, and then they called us in. So you can hit the next slide for me. Once we got there, once they got to that, sort of test shafts where they would dig down a little deeper and see what they could find and how deep the coffins actually were. By the way, thank you very much, Happy Trails Hiking, for your donation. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Super chat.
That's the word, super chat. And says, we can still hear you, keep going. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right. Anyways, so if you would hit that next one there. By the way, you might not know where those graves would actually be located. They didn't have any gravestones. And so we didn't know where the graves were either. And so we didn't know until we dug down where they actually were. So you can see the difference in the picture there of the light spots and the dark spots are places where the dirt has never been dug. But the dark spots are where it has been. Because see, where something has been dug, it's always going to be looser than the dirt around it. And so therefore, it will hold moisture longer, and so it will pop and look darker. And so that's kind of one of the things that we noticed, and that's how we were able to find where those graves were located. This is just some of my teacher group that was out that day. We were schnitting. And so...
What's that word?
Schnitting. Yes. And so schnitting is actually basically taking all the dirt and flattening it out as best as you can, and then kind of sweeping it away to kind of dust it out so that everything is very level and very flat. And if you can hit that one more time there. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I said, but there's me. I look like a prisoner in that outfit. I don't know what I was thinking that day.
How did you get involved? They came and took me out for the weekend.
Yeah, so I don't know what I was thinking ever when I would go to the dig site, because I always had some weird outfits. Dr. White would always make fun of my outfits. He definitely did, but I had to share that one with you. So we would kind of... scrape along the ground, and then we would turn the shovel over and we would scrape it towards us, and it would kind of flatten it all out, and then we would sweep it with an actual broom.
And that's what they called
schnitting.
Schnitting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's see here. Then, as I said, when we were done schnitting, we would sweep it, And then you would have the sheik running around up there, Dr. White, running around yelling at us not to step on his clean dirt. And we're like, what? What's clean dirt? He's like, once it's been swept, you don't go standing on there again until after, you're digging it out again. So I found that very funny and very interesting. And so, I just had to share, don't step on the clean dirt. Yeah. But you can see in the pictures there, too, you can see all those graves popping there, all lined up there. You can see them in the dirt.
Yeah, they're starting to show up.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. To make them pop even more, once the sun hits it, it starts to dry that out. Eventually, it will all kind of look the same again until you dig down deeper. And so we would actually take and mist the ground with water every now and again until we had the graves identified and marked off. So it helped us to find them once the sun kind of baked that dirt back up. So that's what he's doing right there.
Okay. So as of right now, it looks like everything is back running smooth again. So maybe that was just a hiccup. However, it could come back. So we're just going to keep on swimming and get through it.
Okay.
If it's too bad when I watch a playback at some point, we'll just make a video about this again.
Okay.
Because you already got the presentation.
Yeah.
All right?
Okay. All right. So the next step then, after we would mist it to make sure we knew exactly where all of the graves were located again, we would go and outline them. And this was so that when the sun came out and they kind of dried the area up again, we didn't lose them and have to keep on moisturizing the soil. And so we would outline it, first of all, with nails, and then we would string it off afterwards to really make that area pop. So you can go ahead and hit that next one. This is a picture of them putting some of the nails in, and you can see that the nails go in pretty easily right around the edge of the grave itself, because of course that's where the dirt is much softer. So you knew you were at the edge of where they dug, the edge of the shaft, when you would start to be punching along, and then you just couldn't punch anymore. So even if the edge kind of dried up a little bit, you were still able to figure that out. So you can go ahead and hit it again. And so this, you can hardly see it, and I didn't realize you can't see his mouse on this, but this is a picture showing some of the nails that were there.
No.
Yeah, you can't see your mouse. I noticed it earlier.
Oh, wait, what if I did this?
What?
Pointer.
Ooh,
what am I doing?
yes, you can see it. Okay, so go ahead and hover over some of those nails that are there in the corners.
Here's a nail.
And we would kind of
There's
put
a big
them in
nail.
any of the edges, any of the four corners. If it was a hex coffin, we would put them on the shoulder pieces. And then if it was really long, we might stick a couple extra nails in just for good measure. But that was kind of the next step, was these nailing pieces. And then you can go to the next slide for me. And then we would actually pull that string, and we would use a bright colored string. We kind of used yellow most of the time, but you can use any color string. I know that we a couple times used pink and green, but most of the time it was yellow for us. And so that guy there holding the string is actually Ken, and he was one of the guys that was left in charge when Dr. White went on his other dig during that one summer as well. And the little boy that's there is actually Dave's son. Dave would bring his son sometimes to the dig site. So anyway, you can go ahead. Once we had the grave outlined, then what we did was we would go and we would pound those nails in with a hammer, just kind of pound them in all the way flush with the soil. That way people didn't, trip over them as we were moving around the site then for the rest of the time that we were there.
Now, how long did it take you to get to this point?
This was all done in one day.
This was the first day?
The first day I was there. Yeah,
Okay.
So they had one day where they took the heavy machinery and took that overburden off.
Okay.
The first top 3 feet or so. And then the next time was this, when we schnitted, misted, nailed, and strung. So that was all in one day.
So, folks, I'm hearing this presentation for the first time, so this is This is kind of cool for me. Now
Yeah,
you
this
give
is-
this to your kids though sometimes, right?
I did it when I was doing it. I did it for my kids, and I did it a couple years after. And every now and again, my kids will ask me a question or something, and I'll tell them something about it, and I might pull up a picture or two. But I haven't done the full presentation on this in a long time.
So this was 2001.
Yes.
That
This was before you.
pre-us.
This was before you. This is why he's hearing this for the first time. Is
Yeah.
this was before him.
This is before Sean and Marianne.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right.
All right. So this is a couple pictures of me actually outlining that I have here for you. So there's me in my little almost prison looking outfit there. Murad, hello. Nice to see you. And I just want to point out that a couple of minutes ago back in the chat, they were making fun of my outfit as well. And by the way, that is that shirt. I actually still have that shirt.
Of course
I
you
wore
do.
it a couple of like last year. It's my Youngstown t-shirt. And but they were saying that now they know the truth.
Budget Book Press said that was BS.
Yes,
before Sean.
Sean. That's right. But anyways, some pictures of me there working on some outlining. We did find that the overburden that was taken off was not exactly directly in the middle. It was like in the middle. We thought it was towards the end of the cemetery plot. But you'll notice that some of the graves actually were continuing into the side walls, and so we eventually had to dig that out further. So you'll see
And probably you noticed that after the heavy machinery left,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh
Of
man,
course.
they didn't go far enough.
But we did bring them in a few times because we did do this in sections. We didn't do the entire cemetery at once. Especially since we knew it was going to be over a period of a couple years, we did kind of take that and, section it off.
Didn't
We only
open the
dug
whole
down.
thing up.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So by the end of the first day that I was there, we had outlined 36 graves.
Can you guys see the outlines in the video there? The outlines? Here, I have a new pointer. So
Yeah, you found the pointer.
So there's
there it
the
is,
outline. And you can see they actually look like... Is it casket or coffin?
yeah. These ones would be the caskets.
Yeah.
No, the coffins.
Coffins.
These would be the coffins. Yeah.
So they're actually the shape of coffins.
Yeah.
So that's kind of... That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Marty's crew says hello. Murad says hello, Northern Ohio. Happy Trail says hi there, Northern Ohio as well. So that's Northern Ohio Railroad is here, so we want to say hi to them as well.
Hello.
Yeah.
Go Bucks.
All right.
Ohio's
So
in the
I'm
house.
seeing a little bit, but I don't know that how good that will be later. But all right. So then when we were done for the day, I don't know if you can pop that back over. Then when we were done for the day, Dr. White's crew kind of walked the area to see, I guess, checking on our work, and they said we did a nice job. But you could see all the pits would be pretty much lined up, and especially for not having any grave markers and digging by hand, I thought they were pretty well aligned. And one thing that I wanted to mention too, a lot of people are all like, well, how could you do that? And weren't you afraid you'd catch some disease or what all the bugs and all that kind of stuff, and how disrespectful to dig them up, So I want to address a couple of those points, if I might, right here.
And then Murad wants to know where this is at.
This is actually in Damascus, Ohio. So it's in northeastern Ohio, at the end of 534. If you're anywhere in the area, know it. It's literally the end of 534 in Damascus. 534 literally ends into this cemetery plot.
Mm-hmm.
It the end of the road is there. Yeah. So as far as catching things, I mean, I wasn't too concerned about it. I know it was from 1804, but anything that was there probably leached out into the soil as it was already. Yeah. Bugs, once you get down past that 3-foot level, there were no bugs. that was it. I never was encountering, worms or weird little bugs crawling around. They just weren't there. And as far as respect goes, all day long while we were there, we kind of were, schnitting and walking all over everywhere. But as soon as we were able to see those graves pop and we outlined it, we never walked on them again. We would always walk around them and in between them. We just didn't walk on them.
And you said in the beginning, like, a lot of these didn't have markers, right?
None of them had markers.
Oh, none of them had markers?
None of them had markers.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Now,
so
there
this
was
would be the first time in...
over 100.
Over 100 years to know where these graves are.
Yeah, it was like, I think the last one was buried there in like 1845 or something like that. So it was close to 200 years from when that was. Now, there was supposedly some of those graves that originally had markers of some kind, but through the years they all disappeared. And I know that some of the church people who were there during the course of the 2 years, they said that when they were little kids, they remembered seeing some over the edge of the ravine off the back of it that were just kind of thrown there, but they weren't there anymore, so they weren't kind of sure what happened to what was there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I need to show that? Or
No, that's fine.
All right.
So at this point, that was the end of my first day.
That was day one.
That was day one for me. And
wow, I bet you didn't sleep that night. When you went home.
I
you
was
were just like, this is freaking cool.
Yeah, I mean, I learned so much just that day, and I hadn't even
if we would have been
anything.
together, I would have been out there with you. You know that, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been down there in the hole, though, but I would take pictures.
You would have been up
stuff.
on the
I'd
top.
be doing the video. Could you just hold that nail a little bit better? I'm getting a little glare. Okay, thanks.
Speaking of that, there was actually a lady from the church who was there, who did come, and she would photograph things all the time for the church history records. And I remember her face, and I want to say it's like Judy or something like that, but I could be very wrong. But she would come in and she would take pictures all the time. And by the end of the second year, she was actually down in the pit digging with us too. She got the hook, and she came in.
All right, so you got some big chats there.
Lori, okay, were no scans done at my former church? We had a scan done at the graveyard of the property to identify where there were graves. I don't know if previous to this that they did any scans. I do know that as we progressed, we had one of the local people had a company that they would come in and they would do the laser gridding of where everything was for us to make maps for it. But as far as like original, like taking the scan like they do on the TV shows and all that for the depth measurements and things, I don't think that they did, but I don't know. I wasn't there at the like inception of the project. But definitely not while I was there. We did it all just through digging.
Okay. And Kay says she's taken off because I know she's got a big thing.
All right. Well, thank you for coming.
Stopping by. I appreciate that.
Okay. So that's the end of my day one. So at the end of the day, we kind of... I was just going to talk about that. Okay. At the end of the day, we kind of all got together, and Dr. White thanked us, for coming, and he told us what was going to come next. And so he said that each grave was going to get dug down further. They were going to dig it down by the foot until they got to the casket areas, which I'll explain later how they know that without getting to the bone. And that we were going to use extreme care, try to open them up, hope to find as much as they could as far as remains. But because they were Quakers, it was a Friends Quaker cemetery, they weren't expecting to find much beside bone because they often were not buried with any clothing. They were just wrapped in a sheet or whatever, and they didn't have much in the lines of personal possessions that they would stick in there. So they were just expecting just bone. But for me, that was going to be cool as it was,
Right.
And then when they were finished with this section, they would begin the whole process again with the next section and so on. So.
Okay.
All right. So
then, good thing of course, Bottle Cats isn't here for these pictures.
The next weekend, Dr. White said, "Hey, if you guys want to come back, we're going to be doing this every Saturday." And this was in May. You look like
you were 12. How old were you there?
I was 24. 25, 26. I don't know. I was in my
26.
I was
You look
on
like you're
20s.
12.
Yeah, I was in my 20s. But anyways, he said, you know, if you guys want to come back, we're going to be doing this on Saturdays until the summer months kind of really get into swing. Then we'll do it on Fridays and Saturdays. But you're more than welcome. You guys all did a great job. You know, if you want to come back. And I'm like, I want to come back. I want to come back, you know. So I did. And so the next time I came back, I came in white jeans. And Dr. White was like, you realized you're gonna get dirty. That's, you know, I can't believe you wore that here. And I said, yeah, but nobody wears white jeans anymore, Dr. White. It's fine. These are just in the drawer. I don't wear them in public anymore. It's fine. I have no trouble getting dirty. So he would make fun of my outfits.
So YouTube,
again.
that is not a child on there. She was 26.
That's true. That's true.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was me starting my digging, but I came and I was quite dirty, like I said.
So see, that's why I wanted to call it the digging up the dirty past.
I get it. Yeah, I did. Yeah, but I wanted to share that first off because that was my second day coming there. I was dressed, you know, in light colored clothing, and Dr. White's like, oh my gosh. All right, so anyways, as I had mentioned, after our first day, Dr. White said the next step was to kind of take it down another foot or so. And this was all done by pickaxe. So this is using a pickaxe. This is Ken, and he was digging some depth out again, getting it a little bit deeper, making those pits deeper. One swing at a time. Now, he did a great job, but I'm going to tell you, there'll be some pictures of a very elderly gentleman coming up later. His name is Clarence. He was 89.
Wow.
When we were doing this, and he literally could pickaxe any one of these teenage 20-year-old boys into oblivion. Like,
really?
he would get out there with that. Wow. He was amazing. And it turned out he was one of the former pastors of the church, too.
Here we go again. We just got a hiccup.
Okay. Well, anyways, you can go ahead now. That's Dave. I said I didn't like showing his face, and so here's the hiccups, and here's Dave again. But this is me and Dave down there. Once we did the pickaxe section, then we would go down to the trowel level. So then we would take out 1 centimeter at a time with us in the pit doing some trowel work, until we got down to the coffin level, which you knew you were at the coffin level. And I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it in this picture, but I might show it a little bit later. Nice. The grayish sort of area next to his hand on the ground there.
So you're talking right here? Yes,
that's actually decayed coffin wood. And so when you would get to that, you knew you got to the top level of the coffin. Whoops. There we go. That's a better picture of it.
Okay, so that gray.
So yeah, you knew you were at the coffin level when you got to that change in color, and it was like a grayish. It was a little bit more chalky, like. So that was that. You can go on to the next one. And then once we got to that point, we would start to use just brushes and dental picks to do all the rest of the work. So the rest was dental picks and brushes. And so this was me digging out some of that, brushing away. Some of that you see there is actual wood that was maintained. Most of the wood had decayed and broken down because, of course, we live in Ohio. And so we have that constant freezing and thawing, freezing and thawing, freezing and thawing, and it really breaks everything down. So that was kind of where we were with that. So that's those next steps. Go ahead. At the end of every day, at the very beginning, we would put down rubber sheets over it, and then we would put a big wooden rocks and things like that, so that we could protect the gravesite from things like on the right there. See all that green water? Water would, of course, settle into the pits over the week while we were gone, and we would have to drain them out. So we'd have to get pumps, some suction pumps, and drain it out. And
what caused the green? It's like algae.
It was algae from the different heat and that kind of stuff with the water. Or? It was mainly from what I understood, just normal, green algae growing because of the temperature and the water being there.
Wow.
So after a bit of this, they ended up saying, if you don't go home until you finish a grave. So you would start a grave in the morning, and if you weren't finished, you couldn't go home until you were done excavating that grave and getting the bones out and anything that you could find all the way to the bottom of that grave, because we just couldn't have that.
Well, we have we're starting to get hiccups again,
and we're reaching that 6 o'clock mark, and I'm nowhere near ready. But that's
so. Here's a question
longer?
to chat: do you want us to keep going or table this to next week
And finish next
for the
week.
second half? It's up to you guys. We could keep going with this, keep fighting these internet issues, get this one done, or we could do a part 2 next Saturday. What do you guys want to do? It is up to you. It doesn't matter to us. We're already sitting here and streaming, so.
Yeah. That's a good question. But while we're waiting for their responses, I'll just mention we did put up some tents over us occasionally to keep out the sun, because the sun gets hot and you would bake and I would fry. I would go and I'd be sunburned every weekend. Budget says keep going. Lori says keep going. So Marty says keep going. I guess we're going to keep going.
All right, we'll keep going.
All right. So we would put these tents up, over us the best we could to keep the rainwater out of the pits, but also during the week. That's what we kind of did for. But on the weekends, we would kind of go under them if we could to kind of keep out of the sun. But not every day did that happen. Once we got into the pits then and we got to the items, we would collect everything that we possibly could. We would log and catalog everything that we took out of it. We would bag it in plastic, identify it, label it. We would mark it on a box. We put everything for one grave in a box just for that grave. And again, we tried to get as much out of the grave as we could. That was so deteriorated, the bones and things were so deteriorated, so a lot of times you would just try to pick the bone up and it would just disappear because it would just break down. So we tried our hardest to get everything that we could, and when we did, we would identify it with what burial it was, what part of the body it was. We would log it, tag it, and put it in the box. And then we had the old garage of the church. We would stick that in and we would store it there for the rest of the dig. So that's what that is. Every bit of dirt that we took off of there, we would screen. So we did 2 kinds of screens. We did dry screening and we would also do wet screening. And so that you see over there is a wet screen. One of the other pictures, I think earlier we saw a dry screen, but we would take buckets, the 5-gallon buckets, and we would fill the buckets up with any dirt that we took out of the grave. And then we would take it over and we would screen it.
Yeah, we would see this at other places we've been to, like Mount Vernon
right.
and Montpelier and stuff like that, where they're always picking different sections and
right.
and doing that screening like that.
And the reason you do that screening is even though we were just doing it at 1 centimeter at a time.
I had to chip in with something.
Thank you. You did a good job too. But we would,
instead of just being the button clicker.
But what happened was, even though we were trying to be careful and we would, be, very diligent to make sure we tried not to miss anything, we didn't want to miss anything. So you always screen everything afterwards and make sure that it's literally just dirt that's left behind. And occasionally we did find things in those screenings that we would have missed otherwise, mainly teeth and buttons. Really? Yeah. So I have some pictures of that coming up.
Okay.
But anyway.
Next.
Yeah. So there's a picture of the dry screening there. That elderly gentleman is actually Clarence, the guy I was talking about earlier.
That's the one that was doing
89 years old, pickaxe.
Wow.
Yeah, that's Clarence. And then both of those girls, they're 2 different girls, and they're both named Amy. And the one on the right in red, she was actually someone who we were going to try to do DNA analysis with.
Okay, so let's just stop just for 1 second.
Yeah.
I am watching this screen, and we go from things aren't working right to excellent connection. And I'm not doing anything. We're just going to keep going. You got to love technology.
All right. Well, while you're doing that,
All
I'm
right.
going to say hello to Justin Mello and Simply Promo Solutions who have joined us. So it's nice to see you. And also Edward Sprinkle. So nice to see you again, too. Anyway, so as I was saying, the lady over there on the right in red, that Amy, she was actually related to one of the individuals buried there. By the way, they did get permission from all of the ancestors, all the descendants of the ancestors that were buried there. They did get permission from them to do the excavation and the the moving of them. Just want to throw that out. I kind of forgot to mention that at the beginning. But because she was related and she was part of Dr. White's dig team, and they didn't have grave markers here, but we knew that they buried them in the order of their deaths, not by family plots. We figured if we could do a DNA test between her and all of the samples from each of the grave burials, we would know who her person was that she was related to, and then we could kind of figure out everybody else.
And did they do that?
They did not.
Aww.
The church decided that it had taken us 2 years already, and they did not want to wait the extra time. So they asked for their bodies to be reburied before that analysis was done, which was really sad.
Yeah. That's a shame.
Yeah, but you'll notice that Amy that I was talking about, she's actually doing a core sample down inside of one of the graves. When we were done digging out and we got to the bottom of the grave, we did do core samples beneath it to make sure that they did not double stack any of the coffins and that we weren't missing somebody who was buried underneath that person. And if you have been following along with the Herman Mudgett story, on that particular case, and you can see that on the History Channel's show that he did, they actually did that, and they found a secondary coffin below his coffin that was supposedly empty, and they're like, oh my gosh, but then they found bones beneath it in a second
secondary
coffin.
chamber.
Yeah, so.
All right, Rachel Rawson is here.
Rachel,
hello.
Nice to see you. All right, you can click the button. So this is Ken doing the same kind of thing and just kind of examining some of those core samples then. And then, of course, that was screened as well.
We're in the middle of Ken's face. There we go.
We're in the middle of Ken's face? That's all right. He didn't need to have his face. All right, so anyways, you can plug along. As we went through every single grave, we would take all kinds of data, anything that we can collect as well. So we would measure how deep it was to the center of the coffin. So we would string across the yard, make it level, and then we would measure the height. We would draw what we found, where we found it in the coffin. Again, we would log everything and bag and tag it, but there was also this information here. The lady in blue on the left bottom, she was the one who was the photographer basically for the church.
Here?
Left bottom.
Oh, over there.
Yeah, okay. With a like white looking like bunny or something on her shirt there.
Okay, I see.
You see her? There you go. Yes, her. So she was the one. She would come back and she would dig with us later on. By the way, they would also have someone from the church make us lunch every day while we were there.
Really?
She would make us different kinds of sandwiches, pulled porks and things like that. She would always have something delicious for us. And the only problem was we did not have running water access besides just the hose. So we would like kind of take the hose and kind of rinse our hands a little bit, but we were very dirty. And
that's a little pre-Perel, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, so this is me doing some of those measurements. We would measure from the head to the shoulder. We would measure across the shoulder width of the coffins, things like that, and we would make all those dimensions and write them down to the best we could. Go ahead and click again. Of course, we would photograph everything, and we would do different angles and things like that. You can see Ken standing on a bucket there. We're like, oh my gosh, don't fall, but we would do that before we would remove anything from the coffin. We would take photographs of it. We put a little board there that said, where it was, what burial number it was, that kind of stuff as well. This is the guy who I said was doing all of our
grid
measuring. Yeah, all the
drawing up the map, and you
yes,
have one of those.
I actually do have that.
There is a map up
There's a
behind
picture
us
on the next slide of one of the earlier versions, but I do have a variety of them because as we went through, and he would do more and more of our measurements for us, he would mark in a new one and he would bring us a new map. And so I have a variety of the mappings that were done as we went through the progression of the dig. But he would mark down where all of that was. There was a spot there that was filled with like iron ores of different kinds, and so it was kind of like they called it pig iron ore. It wasn't like anything like that was good or anything like that, but it was something that explained why we didn't see any graves in those areas. It was too hard for them to dig. So, all right, so this is grave 10. And this is where my piece of wood came from. And earlier, Frosty Dog had actually said, what? I don't understand why they were, burying their wood or whatever. Sometimes they would make things called grave arches. And that's what we found in grave 10. And so you would put the coffin down and then you would put these different planks in different directions to make grave arches to kind of
keep it from collapsing.
And so this particular one had so much of that, and it had multiple layers, and that's why there was so much wood that was remaining. So my pieces of wood that I have actually came from this particular grave.
So
we spent a lot of time.
Arch?
Yes.
The
piece of the grave arch. Yeah.
So when we use crypts now for coffin,
the vaults, things. Yeah, so we spent a lot of time on grave 10. Dr. White was away in Turkey while we were doing grave 10, and we're like, he doesn't know that we're taking this long on grave 10, but we spent several weeks on grave 10 because we just kept coming to another layer of arch and another layer of arch, and we're like, oh my gosh, Yeah. So that was that one. It's one of my favorite pictures, by the way, of me. One of them. Anyway, some more pictures of the arch and just foot there for size. Right?
Is that your foot?
It is not. I don't paint my nails.
I was going to say, you don't paint your nails.
Yeah. That was one of the Amy's.
Okay.
Yeah. There is grave 116. We ended up finding 118 graves, but this one here was one of them, and you can see the skull case there, the humerus, some ribs, things like that, and then in the middle is kind of the bottom half of the coffin, and so those are the lower legs, so you can see upper arms and things like that. Now, every one of the ones that we found, the skulls were crushed as time progressed, and the wooden coffin kind of gave way and would collapse. It would come in and it would crush the skull. This one was a little bit different because look how far away from the edge. Oh, they can't see it. Oh, now they can. Okay. How far away from the edge of the coffin the head actually was. In most of the coffins, the head was like right up against it because when they would put them down in the ground, they would put them in head first, and they would kind of shift down, and so a lot of times their heads were like right up against the edge of the coffin. This one was a little bit different.
They put them in sideways, maybe.
Perhaps. Yeah.
All right, check out chat there for a second.
Okay. Here. Let's see. We've got. Those were delicious green water plots. Totally should have been Scully from X-Files, Marianne, says Rachel. Marty's crew says, right? Rachel says, kind of freaky, but kind of cool, though. Lori thinks it was cool. Budget Bushcraft says, looks like my shoulder. Oh, poor Budget. Let's see. Rachel says, so long as it's daylight when I'm digging and not down a dark, scary hole or cave or something, I'm good. And Irish Whiskey Paranormal has joined us. So nice to say hello and welcome.
All right, so just a quick little update because it's been a while. We'll just kind of explain what's going on. You're going over
my archaeological dig that I participated in 2001 to 2003. Basically, it was 2001 and 2002 that we did the dig, and then 2003 was the write-ups and things like that.
Which you guys were in charge of moving the actual cemetery.
Right. We were asked to move a cemetery for a church.
All right. Ready?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Keep on going.
So here's I like this picture on the left because it kind of reminds me of, when you see, except for the buildings in the back, like when you see pictures from people doing archaeological digs out in, Africa or somewhere, you just look and you're like, oh my gosh, that looks like an archaeological dig site. Each one of those were the bodies, graves, and I was taller than almost all of them.
That's the picture I used for the thumbnail, by the way.
I saw that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was taller than almost everybody there that was buried in there, and that was interesting for me because I can see things that I teach in my classes, right? So I could show them, oh yeah, we've gotten taller in the last couple hundred years. People as a population has evolved to get a little bit taller, and I was like, I'm not that tall, So I was taller than everybody there, Yeah. And there's measurements too. So this is something that we found in some of the graves. Not all of them, but in a few of the graves we actually found hinges. And so these are some pictures of some of the hinges that we found. Some were still attached to wood planks. Some of them, the wood planks were completely gone, and it was just the hinges. The hinges were different sizes and things like that. We would measure across to see where those hinges were, and it was interesting. Like, I hadn't really, at this point in my life, done a lot of research into old coffins, and I was curious. I'm like, why are the hinges like at shoulder level? What's the deal? Why aren't they along the edge? Because growing up, I was going to funerals and everything. The coffin opens like this, right? Yeah. Well, as it turns out, these are some of the old 6-sided or hex ones, and occasionally they would have a piece that would flap down in the front so that you can have just the head would be seen. And so this is one that was like that in this particular picture. We didn't find any of the glass plated ones though, which some of the coffins would have the hinge like that, but then they would have a glass plate for just where the face was. So I don't know, they were going to look at the dirt or something. I don't know when they were done burying them. I'm not sure. But we didn't find any of those.
Well, I think they used those
for
with the glass
viewing.
plate as if it was like scarlet fever or something like that.
Oh, you know what? That's
for quarantine.
Well, then I guess it's a good thing that I didn't see that.
Yeah, they sealed up the casket.
Okay,
yeah.
All right. Go ahead. There's
See, I can contribute a little bit here.
There you go. There's another picture. This one here was the wood was so well preserved that we were able to pick it up with the hinges still attached, and it was a really good one.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, so these are some of the buttons that we found. Again, these were Friends' burial grounds. They were Quakers. Most of the time they weren't buried with clothing. So when we would find a coffin that had buttons down the center, or just a grave that we sifted and were like, oh my gosh, there's buttons, we were like amazed. We were like super psyched on those days. And it was also interesting to see the different types of buttons that we would find too. Most of the time we found solid button with a single loop on the back, but we did find a couple that actually had holes in them, and so you can see in the top right there, you can see some of them that actually had a couple of the holes, which looks like a much more modern button.
Yeah.
We would also find nails, and so this is 4 nails in a row at the foot of a coffin, where they kind of nailed the coffin pieces together, and they were of course all very rusted, and just really would fall apart fairly easily, but some of them were in better shape than others. They were all different sizes. Even in the same casket, we would find different sizes. The picture of my hand there in the bottom right there, that's all from one casket, and they were obviously all different sizes. So that was another interesting find. Here's some that were nailed down. So this was like at the top of the coffin, nailing down into the coffin. And there's some sizing markers there with a 2-inch brush and some of our dental tools. The Irish Whiskey wanted to know if the buttons were made of metal or ceramic, and they were mainly ceramic looking anyway. I didn't spend a lot of time with them, but they weren't metal. They were mainly a ceramic. I'm not sure of every single grave because I didn't dig every one. Like every day we would go there and we would have a grave that we were assigned. You're doing this one today. You're doing this one today. And so we would try to open up 2 or 3 or 4 graves every day. So I didn't get to see every one of them. There's another. Oh, this is the one with my Band-Aid finger that I was mentioning earlier. And so what did we get cut on? Like we would get cut on just like our tools sometimes, you know, and we're like, okay, I'm bleeding, gotta grab one of those Band-Aids. But just the size of some of those nails, you know, my hand, you know, you can see the size. So here's some teeth. We did find teeth. For me, I loved the teeth the best out of everything that we would find. I would get super excited about the teeth, especially all lined up in the grave. They were super exciting for me. Go ahead and clip. I have some more of the teeth. So I really liked examining the teeth because you could see it wasn't just the part that you see, you know, in your mouth. We would have some of the root type portion of it that was still attached, which was always exciting. And then I really liked looking for the cavities and things like that, the broken pieces, the edges, you know. I just loved it. And I will tell you, I took the pictures of this and showed it to my dentist. I'm like, really? You've got to see this stuff. And he was super excited about it too. I would take him pictures of our teeth all the time. I would tell him, you got to come to the site so you can see the real thing. You know, he never did. But yeah, I loved the teeth. Now this, on the left, we were thinking was kind of maybe a piece of cloth. It was very small. This is actually the palm of a hand that it's in. And then every now and again, we would find a brick. And so that's a
you would find a brick in the grave? Not
in the grave so much as like above it, you know, or next to it, in between graves. So maybe
they used it just to fill in the...
Yes, as fill.
Fill the hole up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. All right, so one of the things in one of the graves, they found a bunch of seeds in the area where the stomach would have been. So they were like, oh my gosh, I wonder if this person died from like poisoning or something like that like they ate something that was bad, because there were so many of these little seeds. So what they did was they took blackberry seeds from a pie that was modern, and they took that and they shipped that and the seeds off to be tested to see what they were, because they thought that they might be a berry of some kind. And so it turned out that they were in fact blackberry and raspberry seeds. And
really?
Yeah, they did have those tested at a test bank. And
how many slides you have here?
60 something.
Oh,
yeah,
geez.
Yeah. So, anyways, okay. Here's some pictures of some of the graves that had a few more bones that looked like bones, I guess I should say. You could see both of the long bottom part of the legs there in that particular one. You can flip to another one. I'm just going to show you some of the other ones that we saw. This, by the way, is Tabitha. Tabby was in middle school at the time, and we actually went, and she would come to the dig site all the time, and she and I dug really well together. This one here is just me getting those wooden pieces with the hinges, me digging away, getting sunburned. You can see how pink I am. And it was, midday. And then what happened when we would find bones that we could see, like the two long bones, we would measure the lengths and that. But we also measured the distances between them. And we would also measure the width of the leg bone as well. So that's what you can kind of see in this picture. We were measuring the distance across and also measuring the width of the bone. And then me taking it out. And then,
so that's bone.
That's bone. That's actually a femur. I don't know if it was the right or the left at this point, but because I took both of them out. But that's me digging those out. This is one of my favorite skull pictures. You can see the scary thing when you were a kid and ate a seed, someone would say it was going to grow out of you. Yeah, when I was a kid, they would tell me if I ate a watermelon seed, you'd have a baby. And I'm like, I don't want a baby, you know. You didn't do that, dear?
No.
Really? Oh, okay. Well, anyways,
So
did I miss
looking
anything
at now?
else here? This is a skull. So this is a skull cap. And also the lower jaw that had
Yeah, I
flapped
could see
forward
that with the teeth.
all nicely in a row. I love it. It was one of my favorites. This is Clarence. He was doing some screening, wet screening, looking for things. They did find teeth, and I just happen to really like that particular tooth. It just has this hole in this weird spot. I really liked that one a lot. And that next picture is, I think, my favorite. Nope, it's not, but that's okay. It'll be coming up. This is me doing some screening, and you see all those little tiny fragments in the middle there. Those are very porous. Those are all little pieces of bone. So we did find a bunch of little tiny piece of bone from burial 6, it looks like, and as well as the teeth. Now this is my favorite picture of Clarence. If you remember the big campaign, the Got Milk campaign, right? How cool is it to see Clarence, this 89-year-old guy, right, in a Got Milk hat, holding a tooth from the 1800s, right? Got milk? You know, that's like my favorite ultimate picture from this dig, is that picture of Clarence holding that tooth. What do you think? Do you like that? I love that. But that was when we had that big Got Milk campaign. What do we got? Oh, Art Morbid's here. And TSW Parables is here. Hello to you as well. All right. There we go. More digging. We would dig out those pieces. So here's, we were digging around that skull cap to try to get as much of the skull as we could out, so we can see how deep we were going. We were using picks, little skewers at that point too. So we would use dental picks. We would use clay tools for like arts, and we would also use just some wooden sticks. And so that's what we were doing there. And of course, logging everything along the way.
Digging it out with little sticks.
Yeah.
This didn't hurt your back or anything like that?
You know, back
you were 20.
then, I was like perfectly fit, and it did not bother me at all.
20.
Yeah.
I would have been like, ugh.
Now, if I was to do that today, it might be a little bit harder on me. All right, so there's another skull there with some jawbone that you can really see the side of the jaw there, and of course some teeth in line. Go ahead. And marking, we would even mark. I brought some pictures from school. I actually did a little bit of science lessons
They
there.
can't see you on camera. You're
Oh,
talking
okay.
on camera.
I was doing some science lessons on site too. So I brought some pictures. The archaeological team didn't quite know the names of the bones. And so when we were trying to bag the bones, they'd be like, what's this one? You know? So I brought a picture of the bones, and so that you could see he's got one of them there. And I think his name was Jason. But he was highlighting which bones we actually had for that particular grave site. But I was kind of giving them little lessons on this is this bone and this is always a teacher.
I could tell you were in your glory.
I was. I had so much fun there. This one I think is my favorite picture of I really like, but this one here, I was just kind of like chilling in there with them, trying to, help, clean them out. And somebody took a picture of me from up on the top. So this was looking down
Look how
on
dark
me.
your hair is. That was pre-married.
It was. Yeah. Go back 1 second. Can you go back 1 second? Would this not be the perfect National Geographic cover picture?
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
It was a little clearer, not 640 by 480.
Yeah, but I could just see it as like the cover of a magazine. Yeah. All right, go ahead. Some more pictures. This is actually, I should have probably put this early, but this is what really got me hooked, like 100% on being there. Like the first day I was like, yeah, this is cool. I want to come back. But when I came back that second day, they had found this. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm so going. So they had found a couple of long bones in the skull and the first coffin that they, were exposing. And I was like, oh yeah. I'm so in. I'm so there. Now, these are my kids. I took my class there on a field trip. Go ahead. You want to show my face on this one.
Wait a minute.
This is the ultimate, field trip, right? So we're going to go to a graveyard. And we're going to see dead bodies from 200 years ago, right? So I got a group of my kids that said they wanted to go, and we went on a school bus. I took my guidance counselor with me.
How did you fill out the paperwork for this? What is the destination? Well,
yeah, it was interesting to fill out the paperwork nonetheless. But I took my guidance counselor with us as a chaperone because I wanted, just in case somebody, had a little bit of a breakdown because of what they saw or anything like that. I wanted them to have some for them. At the time, I didn't have my guidance counseling degree completed yet, and so, we went, and the guidance counselor is still there that was, my guidance counselor that day. And unfortunately, they didn't get to dig. That particular day, it rained. And on rain days, we canceled the dig.
Oh.
So I had the bus. They we would check every morning, we'd get an email from Dr. White, that, it was on or it was off. If it was raining. And I got it that it was off, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? This is like the day. I'm like, you know what? We're going. So I'll just go. We'll show them the site, it'll be fine, So we went out, and it turns out that Clarence, he actually was at the site that day. He came on the bus and he told my kids all about some of the people who were buried there. One of which was part of the, Harper's Ferry thing that we did. I forget who it is. But
John Brown.
Yes, John Brown's Harper's Ferry raid. There was one of the guys who was buried there who was that, so we brought some history into it and everything, and we had lunch there at the Sun. The kids had a great time. They thought it was so cool, and a couple of them actually came back a couple of the weeks after that just to do things, and they actually did get to dig.
So they just did it on their own?
They did it on their own afterwards. Wow. Yeah. So... Teacher of the year, right? Take your kids to a graveyard to dig some dead people up out of the ground, right?
That's a good way to get A1 teacher award.
That's right. Yeah. So, all right. So we are coming to the end of it because those were some of the pictures that really I had from the site that I thought you guys might enjoy. But after this point, we did take all those remains and we would clean them to the best of our ability, and we wanted to study them. We didn't get as much studying done as we wanted, but, we wanted to look for different bone diseases and try to do those DNA tests, and it didn't quite pan out all the way, but eventually we were going to take all of these bodies and we were going to bury them in their new cemetery that they had started using when this cemetery had filled. And so it's a mile away, and we actually, not me, I didn't have anything to do with it, but the church and the dig site team, they worked together to get historical markers put up for the site as well. So go ahead and switch that and put on some of that, because I have a couple pictures from when they dedicated it. So when we were all said and done with everything and we were ready to put them back into the cemetery, we would have
now,
this.
This is down the street from the church.
This right here is still at the church. This is at the church site. So we had two historical markers put up, one at the old site and one at the new site.
Okay.
So this is Clarence was giving a speech here, and that's the historical marker that is going to be unveiled. And then when it was unveiled, it's on the right there. Go ahead and click that for me. And Dr. White gave a speech. We had a ton of people. Pretty much everybody from the dig team showed up. A bunch of people from the church showed up. Basically made a little memorial there for, the old plot. And then if you go to the next slide, we then went over to the new cemetery where they had dug out a section. And it kind of looks like a periodic table right there. But essentially what we did was we had all of the bodies, all of the parts that were for every body that was in each individual box. We had those boxes put in the order that they were in the original cemetery. So who they were buried next to before, they're still buried next to now. And so we laid it out according to that map that we had made. And I thought that was really, really special that we just didn't stick it, just throw them in there. We literally laid them out, and that to me was super special. And then of course it had a historical marker put up for it as well. And if you click the next one, Dr. White actually shoveled the dirt on for us, the first dirt.
Very cool.
Yeah. So there's another picture, I think the last couple there. They had some pictures of the dig site, and there's also the plaque that has all the names of everyone that we knew that was buried there that was moved there. So, all right, that's it.
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay.
So what do you guys think?
I hope that come out with the internet going up and down. I mean, we've been sitting on doing this for a while, but we'll check. If not, maybe in a couple years we'll do a video about it.
So let's see here. Just so we know, Rachel Rawson must have been leaving because they were saying goodnight, Rachel. And Frosty Dog, who is one of my former students, says, but you can't beat the full skeleton in the back of class. I do have 2 human skeletons in my classroom. They are not from this place. Frosty Dog. I call him Dog. I don't know if it's Dodgy, but I call him Dog.
Is it Dog or Dage?
I don't know, but I call him Dog. Okay. I call him Frosty Dog. But yeah, he's one of my former students. He was not one of the kids that were in this picture. He's graduated just a little bit later than that.
All right. Well, I think we kept them long enough.
Yeah, look at that, 6:30 already. But they did say it was cool.
Yeah, they said keep going.
And it was awesome. And I thank you for that.
Sorry about the internet issues, but it is what it is. We were debating about, instead of doing the premiere Tuesday night at 6 going live, but now I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think? We're going to do it behind the haunting for the St. Valentine's Day massacre. You guys are watching the other end. Do you think we could do that live instead of recording it and doing it a premiere? It's actually easier on us to do it live because then we don't have to record it and edit it and upload it and all that other stuff. I love doing them live before. Yeah. What do you guys think? Should we go live or do it as a premiere?
I don't know, but Frosty says it's just Dog.
Just Dog. Okay.
Irish Whiskey says it's only 3:35 there. And Marty's Crew says, glad you guys kept going. It was so interesting. And Budget says, I like the lives. Do it live if possible, Art Morbid. So.
Do it live. It's easier for me.
Okay. We'll try to do it live.
So we got 2 lives.
Okay.
Should we do it live?
Yes, live, says Edward Sprankle as well. So it looks like they would like it live.
All right. So 6 o'clock Tuesday night, 6 o'clock Eastern. It's our time. So work it backwards. 6 o'clock Eastern. Tuesday night, we're going to do Behind the Haunting of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Yes?
That's right. Yep.
All right. You ready to wrap it up?
I am.
Anything else? Did I cover everything?
Just that this was a really great experience. I was really glad that I was able to do it. And I got to see a lot of stuff that I teach in my class, being used.
You did that pretty good for
Since 2001? Yeah, I think I remembered a lot. I even remembered.
Have a headache?
I even remembered most of the people's names.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Need an aspirin?
No, I'm good.
You good?
Yeah.
All right, folks. Thanks for joining us and
Yes.
having some fun tonight. Appreciate it very much. Until next time.
Thanks for watching.
And happy hunting. Let us know if you like this video by hitting that thumbs up. Also, if you'd like to see more videos from us in the future, support our channel by hitting that subscribe button and dinging that bell so you get notified the next